Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to all of you to the day of ankles, the feet, in the physical way, in the physical week of the month of Cancer. Tomorrow is the last day of our 360 days in this path of the I Am, which is the 360 degrees of the sphere. Tomorrow is our last day of our whole path of the I Am before we begin with the 5 days out of time. And today, almost at the end of this path, the ankles take us to the concept of moving forward, of looking beyond. So it brings us the topic of the divine consciousness. Let's talk then to divine consciousness. So along this week, we have been taken from the universal point of view to the existential point of view, and that took us to the atomic reality that brought us to the elementals. And from the elementals, the first kingdoms, the mineral kingdom, that take us to the vegetal kingdom, that brings us to the animal kingdom, from which inside of it, we find the human kingdom, which is connecting to the divine. So each one of these levels are unconscious by its own, regarding its own existence. And then when they become aware, when they become conscious, they allow the next reality to become. So if we follow this order of existence, we can understand that we humans come from the animal kingdom. So the animal kingdom has this awareness of itself related to the ground, to the earth. And the animals, they are moving. So the soul is the main character of the animal kingdom. And from this animal kingdom, in this movement, we find the human kingdom, which is a bridge, a connector between the animal kingdom in the earth with the heavens. So this takes us that the next level of consciousness will be in heaven. And that's the divine realm. So this is why humans are a bridge in between the animal kingdom in the earth and the divine kingdom in the skies. So first of all, let's try to make a division to understand the difference between the main concept that we spoke about this week and the last one, which is divine. The first topic that we spoke about is universal, the universal consciousness. And the divine consciousness is another thing. I clearly difference this because it's not the same. What is universal? Universal is everything. And it's not only what is above in the stars that we see. Universal is one path. So it's connecting the whole, the everything. So it's not only about outside, but it's also about the microcosmos inside of us. And This is why universal is not related to the universe as we see it in the sky, it's related to the everything, to the whole. And the divine is a different thing. So, what is the divine then? The divine is the subjective point of view of the universe. Subjective point of view of the universe. Remember that we spoke yesterday that humans are a bridge between the objective and the subjective reality of the universe. So we can take that the universal reality is objective and the divine is the subjective. So everything that a human sees from the universe in a subjective way can be related to the divine. So as you see here, we have the divinity, and we can divide this frame like this. We have the universal, which is the objective of the universe. Then the human observes and perceives the universe, the objective universe, and interprets this universe in a subjective way. So the result of this subjective way is a divinity, is a divine. A divinity of what? Of an interpretation of the universe. Okay. So from the universal point of view, the only thing that exists in the universe is a polar force of movement. A polar force of movement, meaning energy that we call positive and negative. So from the point of view of the universe, this constant polar force of movement, this energy, is what we call time and space. Time being the negative, space being the positive. Each one is feeding to one another. So every positive and every negative are exchanging this energy towards the infinite once and again, constantly. That makes the universe a constant of time and space. So everything that exists in the universe is basically existing because of this force of polarity in movement that we call positive and negative that are expressed in the constants of time and space. Okay? So in this way, the subjective point of view will be the mind. What is the mind? The mind is basically electrical impulses that are produced from an external and an internal interaction by something that we call action and reaction, also known as positive and negative. So why the mind is a subjective point of view from the divine? Because mind is just an idea, it's just a construction of a perception that we have of the electrical impulses. And the electrical impulses are basically positive and negative, which is the objective point of view from the universe. So what we call mind is just a network of positive and negative interacting to each other, creating a net of pulses that are reacting according to the external and internal point of view. That gives us the tools of action and reaction. So now let's go to this. The point of view of the divinity, the divine, is subjective. But in order to be subjective, means that a subject must be observing that. So we need an observer to interpretate the objective in order to become subjective, the point of view of a subject. So this means basically that anything divine can exist by itself without the observer that, from its subjective point of view, is observing the objective. The easy example for this is there wouldn't be a God if nobody believes in God. How can something believe? How can something exist if there is no one there to believe in it? So the divine by itself, a God, cannot exist without the point of view of a human believing in a God. But there is something that can exist even if there's no one watching it, which is the universe. Why? Because it doesn't matter what you believe, the universe is there, and you can prove it, even if you don't believe in it. This is why a lot of people stop saying that they believe in God, and they now believe in the universe. So this idea of God and the universe that some people calls God or some people calls universe. For example, myself, I'm one of those people. I say universe because I never believed in God. And the reason why I never believed in a God is because I was born in an agnostic family. So nobody believed in God in my family. So we would never speak about God. There was no God word there. So for me, it was never a God, but there was always a universe. For me, it's like it was natural. It was how it was. Now the question would be, is it bad that I don't believe in God? Or is it bad that I just believe about the universe? Is it bad that people believe in a God? Is it bad that people believe in the universe? No, it doesn't matter. Because the problem here is not believing or not, because it's the same thing, just observed by different points of view, the objective and the subjective point of view of only one reality. So it doesn't matter which one you take. I was explaining now in Spanish the example of the chocolate. Chocolate exists. You can tell that chocolate exists. But there are some people that hate chocolate, they don't like chocolate, and there are people that love chocolate. So people that hate chocolate, even if they hate it, they can't deny that it exists. It is there. There is chocolate. And there are some other people that love chocolate that cannot deny that there are people that hate chocolate. And so it doesn't matter if you like it or you don't like it, chocolate is just chocolate. After all the different points of view that we could have, it's just chocolate. So it's a matter of perception. So, important, the divine is a point of view of the universal, meaning that it's not something different from the universal. It is just the interpretation that gives a meaning to the universal. The concept of divine is the one that gives a sense to the universal. And let's try to understand why it gives a sense, a meaning. The word is sense, better. We have here an electrical current. So this electrical pulse is the one that will show me that every movement will go from one negative going to the positive and then back to a negative. So this structure will be repeated once and again to the eternity, basically because the charge of the negative and the charge of the positive are constant. This means that they won't change. They are just like that, meaning that they will always constantly moving along. And that's why we can say that time and space are the constants of the universe. So the point of view of the universal vision is that this particle in the negative is pushed towards the positive particle here. And this is repeated in a force of movement. This is what creates an electrical current, so therefore the energy. So the difference now, what is the divinity point of view watching from here? Because the universal point of view is just staring at two particles that repeats in a constant of electrical pulses throughout a chain of energy, which is movement. That's all what the universe is seeing here. But then we have a point of view of divine. So we can understand here from the divine point of view something that the universe is not seeing, which is that we in the universe are moving constantly from something negative towards something positive, from something that is bad towards something that is good. And there's another interpretation here, which is that everything starts from a profound point of view. Profound is to go to the depth. Profound, and from the top of the to the bottom, from the bottom of the deepest part, it has to go in front to something that is put in front, which is the purpose. Something that is put ahead, in front. So we all have to go from the profound vision, we all have to go deep to the profound in order to find the way towards our purpose. And so in order to go from the profound to our purpose, we have to go to that level in a new level of perception. And the way we do it is by being thrown ahead. This particle must move ahead. And that in Latin, you might say project, jectare, to throw, project. So it is a projection. So what we have been doing here, and what we have been doing here is going to the profound aspects of ourselves, acknowledging the negative of our own within, inside, within, and then project ourselves into a new level of consciousness where we can reach our purpose, which is the positive, therefore the good thing. So all this explanation is just the divine the divine aspect of what for the universe is just an electrical current. What does the energy generates? So energy is equal movement, and movement is equal positive and negative. This energy generates action. So this movement of energy generates action. And every action in the universe generates a reaction. And there is an action. The first action takes me to the movement that we call space. And space immediately brings me to the interpretation of space called time. Let's explain this. I will say it again in Spanish and then in English. So what we have here is the next. The I am said the verb. The verb was the vibration. The vibration creates energy. What is energy? Energy equals movement. The movement of what? Of the positive and the negative. The two particles, positive and negative, that in the movement creates action. Action can only occur in a space. So action defines a space. And space is defined by the time, is the subjective point of view of something that is occurring. So time and space become the two constants that makes the fusion of the entire elements of nature. All the elements, the atomic elements, now are fusion in one thing, producing a reaction that we call light. And God said, "Let be the light." So light is the reaction of the movement of the entire universe. What is the light? Light is a reaction of a current made of positive and negative. We can also translate this into what is the light. Light is a destiny of a path between good and bad. The point of view of the universe, the point of view of the divinity. So it is exactly the same, but said in a different way. So what is good and bad? Good is positive, bad is negative. What is good is like being on the hill, watching a whole aspect of the reality to understand the coherence of everything. And what is bad? Not being able to understand why things are like that. But also, is the bad, the evil, that makes sense to the light, to the good? Because there's not positive aspect without the energy of the negative aspect. They are just interpretations of the same thing, which is an objective point of view and a subjective point of view. So none of them is bad. They're all good. It's fine. It's perfect. Don't worry. You can take whichever you want. We can choose one or the other, but I would recommend to be able to see both of them. Because when you integrate both points of view of the universe, you become a conscious being. Conscious being. And because I say that it's better to know both of them, because if I decide not to put them together, but to take them away from each other, so I will be an unconscious being. Unconscious being. Because it means that I deny one of the parts and I don't know one of the parts. That makes me unconscious. Origin of divine. Divine comes from the Indo-European language Deu. Deu means light and bright. So Deu was called those things that have light and bright. What is the thing that brights and has light? The sun. Where is the sun? In the skies. But the sun is always there. From millions of years, the sun has been always rising up in the horizon. It's always there. The living beings honored the light, Deu, because in the light they had much more opportunities to live, because they could see, they had clarity of the environment. 70,000 years ago, the volcano Toba from Sumatra erupted. So I invite you to check in the internet the island of Sumatra to see the crater of the volcano that is so huge that today is a lake, and it's a big island, Samosir, in the center, where that was the core of the volcano. So it's huge. You can see it from space. So 70,000 years ago, Toba erupted, and this huge volcano covers almost most of the half of the world in ashes for a long time. So no sun, and many plants, they all died. The animals migrated and died. So it was all covered into ashes, and they have to escape. This forces humans to adapt and to seek for places where there was light, because light, Deu, was giving them everything: food, clarity. So this movement here, what happened in this time, was what allowed the Homo sapiens exist, because due to the environment, this species had to evolve in a way in which by intelligence could know how to survive. So Homo sapiens, by intelligence, started to create the idea of finding the light. They created a culture of looking for Jeu. And that made a huge change in the cultural internal point of view of Homo sapiens, which was the appearance of the concept of faith, hope, and the pursuit of illumination, enlightenment. So it was the hell of a volcano from the deepest part of the world that pushed us to look for the divine in the skies, for God. Now we have a property here. The sun has different rays of light, and these different rays of light are different wavelengths of the energy of frequency in a wave. That allows the creation of what we call a rainbow. So the rainbow is basically different wavelengths of a wave that is always white. Every different wave, all together, they create the color white. So all the colors are only one. Light is only one, but it can be manifested in many different ways. Not only through a rainbow. Do you remember what are the things make the light into something physical? What is the process of making light into matter? Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. So it's because of the photosynthesis that vegetables exist, using the minerals, feeding the animals creating the humans, and the humans projecting the idea of the divine. So basically, this whole process is how the light finds a way to itself again, how the objective light designs a path in order to find a subjective way to change its point of view of what it is and what it can become. The discovery of the divine is another step ahead to find a way to understand existence. And in order to find the existence in one sphere, what do I have to do? A sphere has 360 degrees. This means that there are 360 points of view in a sphere. Each one of them unique, observing different points of view of a reality. So each one of them are called gods, goddess, divinities, and divas. All of them are the same and only being, different points of view, different realities of only one being. So all this is polytheism, and all here is monotheism, because all the gods are just different points of view of only one. So believing that monotheism or polytheism are different things is to be unconscious, because it's the same. Okay? So what is the divine consciousness? So what is the divine consciousness? Is to recognize that every reality, every object has many different points of view from the subjective way. And that there is no that everything is a result of a movement, that everything is moving through positive and negative in a constant. So for the universe, actually, the universe doesn't care if you believe in one God, if you will believe in many gods, or if you don't believe in any God. The universe doesn't care about that. The divine aspect of the universe only cares about one thing, that you are able to take action, that you are able to move, to find the light within. The divine consciousness is only expecting for something, for one thing, that we can acknowledge that God lives within us. So I can say, I am God. God is the subjective idea that moves us to know and meet, acknowledge the objective universe. God is the movement. This is why we can find God in our actions. I am God. The vibration for today is Quo. The statement today is I am the root of space. The note for today is Siberia in Lake Baikal, connected to the constellation of Virgo. Let's go to the alignment. Sit comfortable, close your eyes, and concentrate in your breathings. I take a deep breath and I start to become aware of my entire physical body, from my feet till my head. With every breath, I start to caress, massage, and recognize each part of my body. And as I massage and touch, recognizing the body, I recognize that in each part of it relies also a concept of the divine. I can see how in every objective part of my body is living a subjective idea that ignites and lights the divine in me. When I see my feet, I can think about moving forward, finding a purpose. When I see my legs, I can think about flexibility, about my history, moving ahead. I can think of adapting and having them as pillars that hold my entire body. I see them as a force, strength. I see my hands and I can see art, manifestation, creation. I see my genitals and I can perceive creation. I can perceive reproduction, transcendence, sensuality and sexuality. In my arms, I can see a heart, family, lovers, friends. In my neck, I can see the singing, the truth, the word. In my eyes, I can see vision of future. I can see the soul. In my breath, I can feel the spirit. In my head, the brain, I can perceive the mind, the network. I can perceive the dream and the dreamer. If each part of myself represents a divine aspect, I can also see the world around me represents many divine aspects. And as every one of the parts of my body all together make the being that I am, this means that all the other parts that exist in the reality, each one of them together, create the only one being that can possibly exist, the great I am, the light, God. I am a divine aspect of this universe. I recognize myself as a divine because the objective aspect of the universe has created the body that designed the mind in order to acknowledge itself as a being, as someone. I am a part of God spread throughout the space as an anchor of its divinity. So I am a root of this divine space. I am the root of space. I am the root of space. I am the root of the space. I am the universe that has become the divine. I am the light becoming God. I feel, I feel, I feel, I feel the God that I am. I am who I am. repentance before God and brought him on. She repentance before God for Take a deep breath, and each one at its own time, come back here and now. Thank you everybody for being here, and see you tomorrow at the same time as always. This time to close the whole year of the I Am.